Hi guys, good morning. This is Dan. Welcome to my channel, Engelgeist. Thank you so much for tuning in. For those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that are returning, welcome back. And for those of you that support me over on Patreon, thank you so very, very much. I really appreciate that. Your support means the world to me. Everybody's support means the world to me, but you guys that subscribe over on Patreon is huge. If anybody's interested in going over to patreon.com and looking up Engelgeist, you can choose a subscription level over there. It's a way to support the channel and also get the daily forecasts and other readings that aren't available on the YouTube channel over there, especially made for them. If you want to support me in other ways, you can follow me on Instagram at Engelgeist333. You can book a private reading with me through my business page on Facebook. You can like and subscribe either to my business page on Facebook or to my YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you get notified when I do go live. And just basically, being part of the conversation. Tuning in, watching the forecast, watching the charmings, asking questions. If you have ideas or things that you want to see on the channel, certainly share those ideas with me. I'm happy to sort of consider them at least, if not accommodate them. Feedback is always great. It lets me know that I'm not just sort of talking to myself. And I know that I'm not. I know that I have very wonderful viewers already. But I don't know. It's just interaction is always good. Keeps me going. So today is the forecast for Saturday, May 6th. This is the end of the week forecast. We had a very interesting forecast this week. This message is timeless, so it's not necessarily set for Saturday, May 6th in the sense that if you're seeing it beyond that date, continue to watch the video. There might be a message here for you that may pertain. It doesn't necessarily have to be watched on the 6th of May for it to be valid or fit in your world, right? I believe that Spirit has a way of getting the messages to us when they need to and when we most are ready to hear them. So that's how it is timeless, and I believe in that. So how you'll be in a store and you'll hear a song that plays and it's like, oh shit, that's like an answer to a question I had in my head. And you kind of just know, like, whoa, that was a little bit weird. That's Spirit to me, or at least that's how Spirit works in my life. And so I believe that Spirit can do that with also readings and YouTube videos and just information in general. So that's what I allow Spirit in to do with my readings, if that makes sense. So let's see how we're ending out the week. We have now this underpinning energy of that Eight of... Was it Wands? Yes, that Eight of Wands, which is usually fast-moving kind of energy. It can also mean love for some people, or the establishment of love, or moving towards a more loving situation. So there's that aspect to Eight of Wands, but the Eight of Wands that we saw on Sunday's forecast, which will be up in the upper left-hand corner at the end of the forecast, this video, she looked a little bit confused to me. It wasn't as direct as most Eight of Wands are. There was all of these sort of lines of energy branching off of her in different directions. And what I felt like is it's sort of like some of us need to kind of get in control of that or get clarity around that and start to, make informed decisions about what we want in our lives versus what's pulling us in different directions. If that makes any sense. And from that point, then that Eight of Wands energy, I believe, does kick in and we are able to move forward with, determination and clarity. So let's see what's going on for the 6th. What do the viewers need to know? It's early here, guys, just so you know. I woke up before 5 a.m. It's crazy. We also have, I want to acknowledge tonight, too, I should acknowledge this because I'm shooting this a day before. Oh, you'll see this a day after. So last night's moon, if I'm doing this correctly, last night's moon was a full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Sagittarius. So I hope you use that energy to your advantage. It's a great energy to create with, especially with that Sagittarian energy, because Sagittarius energy is all about expansion and creation, creativity and expansion, loyalty, things like that. So when you have that in a full moon, that's powerful enough, but then when you have a lunar eclipse added onto it, it kind of gives it even a bigger boost. So utilize that energy to the best of your ability. Oh wow. Okay, so here's our card for the end of the week, which is actually a new beginning. It's the Fool. This is an interesting depiction of the Fool to me, because if you look closely, the word is optimism and freedom, right? But she sort of isn't necessarily able to see her path quite clearly. She has that sheet over her. And sometimes in the Fool, in traditional Fool depictions, there's always the Fool is close to that edge of the cliff with the dog kind of trying to warn him not to step off the cliff. But that's sort of the magic of the Fool, is we need to have that energy. I wouldn't say energy, but that enthusiasm, that sort of optimism that some people might say borders on foolishness, where we don't look at like the worries, we don't look at the fears, we don't look at how we're going to go about getting there, we just look at the fact that we want to be there, right? And some people might say, oh well, that's foolish, you can't do that. But that's sort of the magic of the Fool, is sort of setting out on that new journey or that new beginning, and not necessarily giving in to the fears or the naysayers or the self-doubt, allowing those things to kind of be set aside so that we can sort of step forward in faith, in optimism, in with the idea of finding out, new aspects of ourselves. The Fool is Major Arcana. It's the first card of the deck. It is the card number 0. So it always has a bigger punch. It's always about new beginnings and the start of something new. There can be challenges with the Fool, but I don't see the Fool as a bad card in the sense that I feel like we're a clean slate, or we're it's like a new chapter is being opened. This could be for some of you just this new week is turning over. We're leaving whatever we've dealt with this week in the past. Don't tear up the don't tear up the carpet. That's not why it's there, cat. It could be us just leaving the events of this last week in the past and moving forward into this new week. It could be, the events of the last few months or the last 6 months of this year, kind of setting it behind us and starting to reset. Can you go somewhere else, please? Resetting our our trajectory for something new this year, right? Now, when I look at this sheet over this Fool's face, I kind of feel like there's both a positive and a negative to this. I feel like in some ways, when we can't necessarily see the path, we don't necessarily see the dangers, or we don't get caught up in the dangers of it. And that's the optimism aspect of the Fool. But also there is this sort of, fear aspect to this that says to me that sometimes we can get fearful when we can't see where we're going or where we're heading to. All right? But do we want that to allow us to lead? I don't necessarily think that's the case, right? I think with the Fool, we have to be brave enough to take that journey, because that journey, with the key words here being optimism and freedom, that journey leads us to some sense. If we keep that optimism about us, that journey is going to lead us to some semblance of freedom, some sort of renewal, some sort of awareness of self that is going to be deeper, of value, and free us up. But it's almost like, I feel like this sheet over her is like we can't look at what scares us about this forward movement. Now remember, we have that 8 of Wands underneath. And 8 of Wands is always about sort of fast kind of movement towards something new. It can even mean an actual physical move. It can mean like the move towards love, or like the beginnings of, that sort of passionate love energy happening. Those things could be happening for some of you underneath this Fool energy. I'm going to shut this door because the cat's going nuts. 1 second. That could be something that's driving you guys into next week. So keeping that in mind, and allowing yourself to be open-minded to the changes that might come with that, the inspiration, and not sort of allowing yourself to talk yourself out of it. The thing is with the Fool, I feel like we don't want to sit still. We don't want to stop ourselves out of fear. That's kind of always been my key with the Fool, is that we want to be optimistic and open-minded and not allow fear to lead us. Even if we're taking on something new or something we never considered a possibility. Let me see what the Starseed Oracle has to say. I kind of like that this card is showing up at the beginning of, or at the end of the week, because it says to me that new beginnings are starting for the second week of June, and I'm excited to see tomorrow's Sunday spread. Interesting. Perspective, guys. Look at this. It says, zoom, none of this matters, zoom out, common ground. There is this theme where I feel like the cards this week have been telling us to just sort of let go, stop paying attention to the world. I love that this is the earth being pulled way out, zooming out, taking your problems of that like are going on in the world or around us, the things that are like grabbing our attention on social media or via the news, to like zoom out, let it go, gain some perspective, put this sheet over your head and begin to move forward in your life in optimism is sort of what I'm getting from these cards. Don't let like the sort of the troubles of the world stop you from going where you need to go. And I'm not saying that the troubles of the world are not important and to be you know, taken seriously. What I do think is that what we have control over is ourselves in these situations. And if we produce our best results or our best behavior during these situations, they will automatically, hopefully, I mean, that's all we can be responsible for, right? But if each of us took that position, why is the dog barking? It's 5 in the morning. If each of us took that position of taking care of ourselves and being responsible for just solely ourselves within our own environment in a productive and, you know, I don't know, healthy way, we're going to find that if enough of us do that, then things shift, right, in a more positive way as a global whole. But all of us have to come to that decision for ourselves, this infighting and forcing each other to try and come to Jesus' moment. Cut it out. This sort of infighting amongst I'm right, you're wrong, you need to follow my way, that sort of stuff. We need to let that go and just kind of move on. Put the sheet over our head and move. And this card to me says about perspective. This is like, you know, is it really right now in this very moment, is this thing that you're focused on really serving you? Is it the most important thing? Is, you know, the solving of this thing, are you going to be the singular person that's going to solve the entirety of all of this? Or can you just set it aside for a moment, let it be, and let it sort itself out? So let me read you perspective really quick. Perspective, none of this matters, zoom out, common ground. Take a step back and look at the bigger picture of your life. Step away from the blinkered vision and reactive frame of mind of me against them. Change your perspective, shift your point of view, and zoom out, out, out. We are but a speck of dust in the universe, yet we think everything revolves around us. We see the planet as ours to own and conquer, pillaging the land and setting ourselves up for our eventual extinction. We build fences and walls and create invisible borders. Mother Earth doesn't need us to survive, but we need her. It's time to wake up. A new perspective is urgently needed. We become so lost in our individual experience that we don't realize that most of the things that keep us awake at night are actually distractions. We're wasting our precious time and resources fighting each other when we should be coming together to heal what has been severed. This moment is a breath in the timeline of your life. This life is a fleeting moment in the tapestry of your soul's experience. Your soul's experience is a flash in the timeline of the known universe, and the known universe is a grain of sand in the unknown universe. Take a moment to see the bigger picture, to find common ground, to find deep compassion in your heart, to gain a greater perspective of humanity in this fleeting moment, in the timeline of your soul's existence, in the timeline of all that is, was, and ever will be. The Starseed Soul Inquiry is, how are you being called to change your perspective? And that might be, that change in perspective could be the beginning of this fool's journey, right? Where we start a new beginning with our perspective and how we see ourselves, where we fit into our world, who we need to sort of include in our world or convince of our world. Maybe we don't need to do any of that, right? Maybe we can just find what's right for us, live by those rules, and hope that others do the same, right? Here is the grounding. Oh wow, all of the grounding stones just fell over. Here's the grounding stone today. It's on green malachite, which brings me to the heart chakra. This is about inspiration. What inspires you today, especially at the heart level, at that level of love, right? At your fourth chakra. I would stay focused in that inspiration. I would stay focused in this idea. Remember that the first stone from Sunday was the stone of enjoy, right? So what do we enjoy? What inspires us to that state of enjoyment? I know that it's maybe hard and it sounds like kind of counterintuitive to be telling you to enjoy yourself and find inspiration in life right now with everything that's going on, and it feels like things are just really out of whack. But I think that we don't necessarily have control over all of that at this time. We can only control our own reactions to things and how much time and attention we give to situations that may seem helpless or futile, right? This idea of the Fool gives us this opportunity to sort of start over again, to reset ourselves, to find what does inspire us at the heart level, and to sort of move towards those things, allowing ourselves to let go of the things that maybe aren't necessarily inspiring or that are draining us or hurting us. Remember, and it's interesting too, we have this is the earth here, but to me it makes me think of that moon, and with that lunar eclipse in that full moon energy, that energy is going to sit with us for the next 2 or 3 days. That's still powerful energy to work with. We want to think about this Fool energy too going into next week. What is it that we want to create? What journey do we want to take? What inspires us at the heart level? Who do we want to be? What makes us sort of a better person or want to evolve? Right? What are going to be the aspects of self that we want to grow right now? Because right now, with that full moon energy, is the opportunity to sort of let go of the things that aren't working and to begin to grow the things that we want or we desire. Okay? That is your forecast for the day. I hope it makes sense. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in. And, any questions you can refer to, send me messages to the business page. All right, have a great day. I love you. Take care. Bye-bye.